Hi everyone, welcome to the second week of making my indie game, this being day 31 through 37. For those who don't know, I'm making a video once every week about what I'm working on in my game. There's no official release date yet, and the game is far from done, but I'm doing all that I can. With the progress that I'm making right now, I'm hoping that I can release it in about 3 to 4 years. This might sound like a long time, and that's because it is, but you have to remember that it's just me and a few friends of mine working on this project. That was just a little side note I wanted to tell you, but anyway, enjoy the video. On day 31, I spent most of my time sketching out the mapping system. I've took some inspiration from Hollow Knight's mapping system, which was, in my opinion, one of the best I've ever seen in video games. Now, I didn't want to copy it one-on-one, so I added my own flair to it. I remember a lot of Nintendo DS games having some sort of drawing function, and I really liked that idea, so I added to my list of ideas. The same could be said about the idea of already having an outline of the area, which I took from Hollow Knight, and I think it flows well with my next idea. The people that make the maps are scouts. For example, here's a sketch I made of one of them, named Sut. Scouts, in general, explore and gather information, and they capture the core of an area and not every single crevice or detail. You, on the other hand, can capture everything, the only thing being that you don't have something to draw with, which the scouts do have. In their huts, you can find a table with a quill and update your map. These are mostly all the mapping ideas that I have at this moment, but undoubtedly, there will be more. On Tuesday, I did roughly the same thing as yesterday, but I threw in a bit of music and art as well. I started this day off with putting some of my ideas on paper. Here are a few pages. You can probably see that some of it is blurred. This is because of spoilers and story reasons. I also came up with a new idea for an area called the Crawling Roots. It's mostly just a base idea and not fleshed out at all, but I think it could be pretty cool. After all this, I went and played some more on my keyboard and got a pretty good idea for the music for River's Gaze. The next day, I did some programming and tried to get the room transitions to work once again. This proved to be difficult the moment I started, but I persisted and continued troubleshooting. This went on for quite some time, and I got distracted twice by my keyboard, but other than that, I stayed focused the entire time. Strangely enough, the transition wouldn't ever trigger, even with the conditions that obviously led to the player, and I was thinking of giving up again. Only then I started to retrace my steps that I needed to do in other tutorials, and after some digging, I found the collision layers. In the tutorial before, I had to do something with these layers. Now, the problem was that I forgot about the changes I made. So the reason why it didn't work was because the player wasn't checking for collision on the layer that the transition was placed. You can kind of compare this whole problem with having two sheets of paper being a meter apart and then being confused why they don't interact with each other. This luckily was a pretty quick fix, and it felt really satisfying to finally transition between rooms. On day 32, I worked on adding fade-ins and outs to the room transitions. This was really easy to do actually. I just created a sprite that covered the entire screen, made it invisible, and when you're walking through the room transition, it slowly fades to black. Then, when you get into the new room, the sprite fades out. Besides this, I didn't do a whole lot of other things, but sometimes it's good to take a little break. On Friday, One second guys, my cat just jumped on my desk, so I gotta get her off. You know I'm recording a video, right? So why can't you just do this later? Anyway, on Friday, I finalized the music for River's Gaze, and it's what you're hearing right now. Of course, it's not perfect, and I'm probably going to tweak some things later on, but I think it's good for now. I also made a little sketch of a town in Crawling Roots called Bottomless Town. This town is going to be, as the name suggests, bottomless, and I had the idea that something would happen when you jump all the way down, but I still have to come up with something. On the start of the weekend, or day 36, I didn't do that much. I already did a lot in the past 5 days, and to be honest, I was pretty tired. All this writing down ideas, having issues with programming, and composing music was fun, and I really enjoyed myself doing this. So on the weekend, I took it more slowly, and I feel like it's deserved. After this week, I still stand by my point I made in the intro. I think that 3 to 4 years to finish this project is reasonable. I genuinely believe in myself, and I'm not gonna quit anytime soon, so don't you guys worry about that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a lot, and you can always change your mind later. Well, that's all that I have to say, so I hope you have a magnificent day ahead. Goodbye.